All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm so excited to host this AMA with all of our wonderful leaders right here, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So, Jordan, why don't you start?
Hi, I'm Jordan. I'm the Chief Creative Officer and co-founder of Manticore Games, and happy to answer all the questions we get today.
Hi, I'm Arash. I'm the Chief Product Officer. I'm really looking forward to all the questions.
Hi, my name is Frederic. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Manticore Games, and I'm Vitriol in all the games on Encore.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Oh, and then I'm Tasha, aka Tobbs, as you may know me in game. And I'm on the creator relations team here, and I head up social media stuff and Core Live. All right. So let's start out. So we did open up questions to our Discord community 24 hours in advance. So we're going to start off with some of those questions. One I really liked was from Luck of Buck. He actually asked a lot of really good ones. How's the team preparing for an influx of hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of players?
That is a very good question. Yeah, we're ready. That's the main thing I would say, right? Like right now, we've been, of course, very focused on creators, right? Doing the closed alpha and now the open alpha. We're obviously very actively working on a new set of features and initiatives specifically targeting players. So I would say we're ready. We have a very strong team. We have a very strong backend team also, and as part of Core, obviously, everything comes in all in one box, ready to go, whether you're a creator or a player. So likewise, in the backend, in the back office, we're doing lots of work to prepare for scale and for growth, obviously. So,
all right, I want to start off with that one because it's so optimistic, and I can't wait till we have that many players. He did have a follow-up question. How's the team preparing for an influx of people cheating, i.e., things like wall hacks and whatnot?
Yeah, I'll take it. It's a very good question. Thanks, like a buck. Obviously, cheating is something that we want to discourage and make harder. At the same time, it's sort of interesting because we are a UGC platform. What exactly constitutes a cheat, and how can we protect from that? The biggest way I think we have to protect from that is by the server context. When you create a game, you can put code that is only on the server that never goes to the client. So the more code you put in your server context, it'll never.
Let's see. Jordan, I don't think I'm getting any audio from you there. I think you're muted.
yeah, we lost you, Jordan, on the audio side. He was probably revealing the true meaning of life, and then he was cut off at that time.
Sorry, I'm back.
Okay, excellent.
Yeah, I think my headset goes to sleep if I whatever. Anyways, what was the last thing you heard?
Depends on scripts and how much you put into them.
And then, if people are running outside programs that let you see through walls and stuff like that, obviously we'll do some sort of anti-cheat and look for those processes running and stuff like that. That'll come later as we get closer to open beta and launch.
Excellent. All right, and then this one is from our Discord user Brawling Cow. Will Core be available on other platforms in the future, like Xbox, PlayStation, etc.?
Yes, so it's a very easy question. So of course, for now, Core is PC, and for the creators, likely it will remain PC for a while, and maybe at some point console. But it's obviously quite a bit of work, and also the UI and UX considerations are important when you move to a different platform. And for players, it's going to be PC, consoles, mobile.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. And then this was a follow-up question from Brawling Cow. Will there be cross-platform compatibility?
Yeah, de facto, it is all trans-platform for the play and for the creators, right? So for when you're a creator, you can make your games for all these platforms within core, and then in turn publish to all these platforms, and same with the players.
All right, and then here we had a few questions about updates to the editor. What should we expect in terms of iteration speed going forward? Is the goal to have patches every 1 to 2 weeks, or will that slow down over time? And that's from Luck of Buck as well.
I can take that.
Excellent.
We're still going to continue the 2 weeks cadence. The editor and overall platform core is actually a living being. So we're going to continue to add features, add supported, and we're going to keep the 2 weeks cadence for now.
Okay.
And that's a good segue to shout out my stream next week, right, Tasha?
Yes. So we have a wonderful stream with Jordan next week where you get a sneak peek at some of the upcoming features in Core, and that's going to be next Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and the date for next Monday is the 6th. So put that on your calendars. All right. And then what should we expect within Core before going from open alpha to beta? And this is from Luck of Buck as well.
I can take that as well. So there are a couple of major focuses that we have. So we've added a lot of features, a lot of support to the creator side and the creation side. We're adding more features for the player. So like a lot of social features. And we are obviously right now, which we're going to cover as well, we're working on monetization features as well.
Awesome. Okay. And then another question about updates. This is from Brawling Cow. Will the update file size be the same throughout? Say the platform is fully operational, would users have to download 5 gigabytes every time? It's pretty taxing in more rural areas.
Sure, I can answer that. So the initial download will be the full download, but we do a partial patching system. So you only download the update, the part of the update that you need. And as long as you keep updating, that is true. I think right now, if you skip 3 versions, 3 updates, then you do another full download. But right now it is partial, and the smaller updates will be smaller.
Okay, and then I'm going to take some questions we have from our Twitch chat. Let's see. Oh, and I see. Oh, Frederic, you're so on top of things. You've already answered them. If you don't mind answering them on stream as well. Afram asks, will Core ever be available on streaming services such as Geforce now?
Yes, so distribution reach is very important to us. Obviously, whether it's getting more and more and more and more and more and more creators, and of course lots of players. We're operating a two-sided marketplace here, as you understand. You have the supply side, the creators, and the demand side, the players, and they all help each other. So yes, that's something we could envisage. We have very good friends at NVIDIA. I've had only NVIDIA cards for the last probably 20 years at this point. So it is something that is possible that we could envisage. There is almost no technical difficulty on our side to do that.
Okay, and then this one is from Josh Anon. How do you see Core being different from Roblox?
It's a very good question. Obviously, I'm going to start maybe at a high level. I think there are many ways Core is very differentiated and different as compared to what is going on today, what has existed. I think first and foremost, we have a very strong focus on high fidelity graphics, high fidelity gameplay. That is something that is very, very dear to our hearts. And lots of us are real-time multiplayer gamers. I play lots of Apex, lots of Fortnite, of course. Used to play lots of Counter-Strike, WoW, etc. So for us, it's very, very important. Both not just the graphics, the graphical fidelity, and the fact we can really push it with the avatars, with the turn editor, etc. But also the gameplay fidelity is super important. When you play a real-time multiplayer game, which, by the way, technically is the hardest form of games to make, right? The hardest form of games to create are real-time multiplayer games from a technical perspective. It has to be great and perfect. Everything has to be deterministic, etc., etc. So we have a very strong focus on that. I would say also, of course, the editor and the act of creation, the act of remixing is extremely easy in core, and of course the publishing, right? I also want to say I saw some comments in the Twitch chat earlier about people making remarks about, oh, the shotgun should be this, the grenade launcher, the rocket launcher, etc. Well, you know what? Yes, please take the game, take Core Royale and change it, modify it, remix it, make it completely different, remove some of the weapons, add more weapons. This is one of the key principles of Core, right? This game Core Royale that some of the folks on the team have made, it's yours. It's really yours, not just to play, but to completely modify. Yes, that's kind of the high level, right? Obviously, we're built on top of Unreal, so it's a very strong technical advantage in terms of the graphics capabilities and the underlying power of the Unreal Engine that we are harnessing in a new way for creators and for players. I don't know if Jordan, you want to add anything?
No, I think that's a really good answer to that question. And there's a lot of other questions coming through in the Twitch chat too. So
I know. I just scrolled down and I was like, oh my God.
yeah.
Awesome. So here's one from Kaiwi Queens. Shout out to Kaiwi Queens. They've made a lot of incredible stuff. And if you haven't checked out our Discord's showcase channel, you can see stuff they've made and things of other creators have made as well. So glad you're with us, Kaiwi Queens. They ask, when will we be able to import 3D meshes and models?
Right, that is a great question. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. So currently, we currently don't have plans to allow you to import your own 3D meshes. But what we want to do to supplement that is put better tools into Core to allow you to create shapes and things that you want to. So, for instance, we're working, and this I will probably show this off maybe on my stream. We're working on splines and spline meshes. Coming up. There's also questions about NPCs we can talk about later. But we really want to make it so that you can do everything you want inside of Core as a one-stop shop. So you don't have to download, 3D Studio Max or Maya or all those things. Is that limiting? It's a really good question. I've seen stuff that people have made in Core that blew me away that I didn't think they would be able to make at all.
Awesome. And then let's see. Oh, welcome back, Frederic. We have some more questions. Bisque Codes asks, would you consider the idea to enable creators to have an option to upload games made elsewhere, like in Unity?
That's a really interesting question. That's actually different than the question we often get, which is, can you take your game off of Core? But somebody else wants to bring a game onto Core. That is something that we're not currently planning to allow, I don't think. And once you start using Core, I think you're actually going to find that making stuff in Core is probably about 10 to 100 times faster than any other way to make games that I've experienced. And I've been making games for 25 years with every commercial engine, with every proprietary engine under the sun. At some point, I'm going to imagine you actually don't want to do that.
All right, and then I'm going to move back to some of our Discord questions. These are some questions about discoverability. What will Core do to give developers a fair chance of getting their game discovered without having to pay their way onto the main games page? And this is from Maple.
Yep. Arash?
Oh, Arash, you're muted.
There you go.
Heck yeah.
Sorry.
Thanks.
So I can take that one. Actually, it's a great question. So it's a question that we're continuously thinking about. So one thing is I want to talk about the philosophy of the discovery that we want to handle. The way that we're looking at it, we want to make sure the right game goes in front of the right player. So that connection, we don't want to just have a blanket way of just show everything to everybody sometimes, right? Having said that, right now we're going to have like three ways of to discover your games, right? One is obviously the more targeted, what games I want to play, what games players want to play, and then we'll put that in front of them. The second one is they're going to be creation, right? Created featuring that we are going to handle. And third is actually through the social features and social channels that we are going to enable you to actually surface them. right? So we're going to enable you, we're going to help you, we're going to add more real estate to our like browsing experience to make sure that you can actually surface the games, the creators can actually surface their games better themselves. So there's like 3 ways that we're actually handling the like discovery.
I mean, the other thing I would add to that is that if you're a creator, of course, you'll have different tools and ways to get attention of players on core, right? The existing core audience. But it's also up to you, right? It's also up to you to generate your own interest, your own marketing, maybe potentially outside of core, whether you start a Twitch stream or whether it's on Twitter. If you have a pre-existing audience or you want to build it up yourself and bring them onto your game in core, it's also up to you.
All right, and then speaking of some of the social features you were talking about, Arash, we do have some questions about matchmaking and the like. Are there plans to support parties joining private games? This is from Wave Paradigm.
Yeah, so to some extent right now that you can actually do that, you can publish it privately and then share the link to your private like friends or group, and then they all can join that game. But we are actually working like on much more robust matchmaking for private matchmaking and everything. So the short answer is yes, we're gonna.
Cool. And then we have another question from Brawling Cow. I think you just answered that. Will there be a feature in the future to add friends or see what games your friends are playing so you can join them in the server? I think,
Yes.
yeah.
So the thing is, for us, our platform, social is like a major pillar. So we are going to have a set of robust social features that you can actually know what your friends are playing. You can just go one click join. Hey, I want to play with my friend. Or you can form a group, and then with your group, you can actually join them.
Excellent. All right, and then I'm going to switch back over to Twitch chat. Mega Maple asks, will we ever be able to retrieve server logs from live games for easier debugging?
That's probably a question for me. Sorry, can you repeat that real quick, Tasha?
Oh, yeah. Will we ever be able to retrieve server logs from live games for easier debugging?
Oh, that's an interesting question. Yes. Right now, you definitely get client logs, and we have a built-in debugger. And when you play a game, you can local multiplayer test a game, and that gets you the equivalent of the server logs. But for live environment server logs, that's a really good question. And eventually, I think we plan to have for creators a dashboard page. And that's something we could look at surfacing, I think, on the dashboard page is if you have a crash log for a game there, we could put it up there. So yes.
Cool. Awesome. Punch Plump asks, what NPC systems are being worked on? And then they have a few follow-up questions, but I think we'll just start with that one.
And I will answer that. Sure. So obviously NPCs we know are one of the most requested features, of course, and it's one of the features we are most interested in making. We don't obviously talk about dates or anything like that for features, but for something like NPCs, I can tell you it's being actively worked on. And if you join my sneak peek stream on Monday at 2 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, you might be able to get a sneak peek of some NPCs that are in the works.
Okay, and then they had a few follow-up questions. These all pertain to like features that will be available with NPCs. I don't know if you'll be able to confirm any of this, but they ask, will I be able to make billions of humanoids with customizable hair, ears, clothing, animals, creatures, centaurs, orcs, dragons, and will there be customizable voices, sound effects, and pathfinding in AI?
This is a great question. And the reason I like this question a lot is billions is a lot, maybe not billions, but I might be surprised, right? Every time I've learned to say that you can't do something in core because every time I say that, somebody out there proves me wrong. A great example is, as you mentioned earlier in the pregame stream, Waffle has written an entire, dynamic marching cubes terrain generation system in Lua. So we never thought that would be possible. So I think all those things would be possible. We're going to make it very easy for you to do humanoids and other creatures out of the box. And then you can put outfits on them, just like you can put attachments to players right now. And then later we'll see, what other creatures we want to support, but I would not be surprised if creators beat us to it.
Cool.
And it's something I want to add, like, it's like almost anything in core, right? Right now you are looking at the open alpha, right? So core is still very much in its infancy, and there are some features that are already very advanced and will be even more advanced. There are some that are more in their infancy, still primitive, and some, of course, that don't exist. So on the longer horizon, everything will be possible in core, right? So another question about, could you make like Maple Story, COD, Mario games, etc. Well, our horizon in the long term is to allow any types of games to be made in core, and even non-games, right? Machinima movies or stories, etc. Right? So it's the same for each feature, right? So they're all evolving, right? The NPC specs, I've seen the NPC sneak peek that Jordan will give likely next week. You'll see, you'll be probably very surprised of what you can do already. And then after that, you can either wait for us to add more and or take it away and do your own thing, right? That has happened many times, as Jordan was saying. I remember in the closed alpha, I forgot who said that, who was asking a similar question, and we said, hey, likely next week we'll release this new feature, and then over the weekend someone kind of hacked away at it and put something very primitive, but it worked, and it was the beginning of the feature we had talked about.
Cool. And then we do have a lot of monetization questions, and I did want to let you guys know we will be talking about them. I'm not ignoring them. I just want to save them for later when we have a chance for more creators to find the stream, because I know that was very much on the forefront of everyone's mind when we opened up the Discord server to questions. There were a lot of questions about monetization in that. And we will be answering them, I promise. But for now, I am going to throw out this question from Punch Plump as well. Will there be a music creation tool? And I actually had our audio guy send me an answer to that. So Matthew says, we are working to provide various instruments and tools to allow creators to import their own compositions into core. Creators can also create their own music creation tools. Some tools are already in our open alpha created by the community. Speaking of Waffle, I think he just made an incredible piano system. If you guys haven't checked it out, you should. It's like Jordan was saying, things I didn't think were possible. And it's possible. Turns out it is possible. And then I don't know, Jordan, Arash, or Frederic, if you want to address music creation as well.
Yeah, it's a great question. So just like we, with 3D objects, we've sort of gone this kit bashing route where you can take a bunch of primitives and make different materials and different shapes and mix them together to make anything you can think of. We're doing somewhat the same thing with audio. Our lead audio designer, Matthew, has made fantastic, just hundreds almost of scores, but each one has instruments that you can, tune down or tune out, other parameters that you can adjust on them to make them more, vibrant or more hectic during gameplay. So you can really make all this dynamic music. If you play Cannons and Corsairs, the music actually changes dynamically as you get closer and closer to winning. So we do want to allow that kind of support. And then, like you said, Waffle just wrote a MIDI music player inside of Core. So we have just straight up notes of pianos, and he hooked them up to a MIDI input that he's parsing through Lua. It's pretty amazing. So yes.
All right, and then next question. This is from JDev Joker. How do you debug games and the editor at the same time, if possible at all?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it sort of goes to one of the interesting things about making this platform is that we, every time we do something, we have to think about both the games, but also the editor, and sort of debug at two levels. Inside the editor, we have a very robust debugging system built in that includes local multiplayer debugging. It includes breakpoints where you can set breakpoints on your script and inspect the variables on the breakpoints and stuff like that. And there's also always good old printf debugging, where you can just print what's going on from your script and figure out why it's not getting to where you thought it should get.
All right, and then we have another question about music. This is from GADIG Will creators be able to bring in music or sound effects made on DAWs outside of the current sound design system? And of course, Matthew has a response to this as well. I'll open this question up to you guys first, though.
Sure. Yes. So it's similar to the answer I just gave, but right now we're sticking with the all the assets that are in core. There's a couple reasons for this, but not the least of which is actually not for creators, but more for players. So by making it so that the only thing that a player has to download when they download a core game is just the raw definition file of what pieces are where. They don't have to actually download a unique asset or a unique piece of music. We can actually keep load times to like under 5 seconds. And so for a creator, that might not be such a huge deal, but for players who want to just play game after game after game, the way that you watch YouTube video after YouTube video after YouTube video, this is actually a huge feature. So that's one of the reasons right now that we are keeping core to the pieces that we have built. Now that said, we want to make those pieces flexible so that enough that you can make anything that you want, and we're going to continue working on features to allow that.
Oh, that pretty much sums up Matthew's response to that question as well. So well said. Next question. This is an interesting one. This is from Just Truman. Are you looking into machine learning to help out with surfacing of games to players, or will it be mostly self-driven?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah, that's what I meant about about putting the right game in front of the right audience, right? So we want to make sure that we target actually the correct games that like the key thing is if you don't like battle royale, we don't want to give you the battle royale in front of you. So we are right now we're at the stage of gathering the information. Obviously there are going to be a lot of more features coming on, like social is going to be a key factor to that. What is my friends are playing, what is my social graph are doing. So all of that, we're going to take all of that together, and then we are going to use machine learning and actually rec engines to actually address that. Yes.
Cool. Here's one from Luck of Buck. Will we get more control over matchmaking in the future, such as putting people together that are ranked similarly?
That's a great question. Ranked is interesting. I don't know if that'll be a built-in part at the core layer, because what does the rank exactly mean? It's going to be game specific and things like that. However, with persistent storage, you will be able to, in your game, track your own rank. And when people join the game, if you have your own lobby inside the game, you will be able to do that matchmaking yourself. So again, anything is possible. It's just a matter of what we provide for you and what you want to write yourself. That said, the way core is set up, you don't necessarily have to even write that. If one person writes a Lua layer matchmaking system and they decide to share that with the community, everyone can use that in their game.
Cool. Okay, this next one is a very involved question. It has a few parts. This is from Validark. Will core necessarily tend towards mini games and building showcases? Core has created great tools for 3D modeling and the like, but is it even possible to take the same concept and apply it to music and to a lesser extent game UI?
So I can answer that at a high level, and then Jordan can go more into the details. I've seen several of these questions going into the same direction, you know, of hey, what are your ambitions for core? What is possible in core? And quite frankly, I would turn the table and turn the questions back to you. Whatever is possible in core is really up to you. Your imagination, your creativity are the limits, right? And we use the analogy of Twitch on YouTube. I think they are very apt. You know, if we are to go back 10 to 12 years ago, and I would have told you that back then a 7-year-old boy or a 7-year-old girl would have been, you know, mega celebrities online and have millions of followers, being trendsetters, doing what? Streaming themselves playing video games. You wouldn't have believed it, or maybe you would, but you see what I mean, right? So today on YouTube, on Twitch, you have all sorts of content, all sorts of entertainment, all sorts of special interests, sometimes special interests that seemed small, like let's say sous vide cooking, because that's something I like. I like cooking. You have channels about sous vide cooking that have like 2.5 million subscribers, right? So likewise in gaming, battle royale, right? Like 4 or 5 years ago, if I told you that the biggest explosion in terms of new genre would have been battle royale, with not just one game but 4 or 5 games, and today battle royale is what, 10, maybe $12 billion in revenue per year, you wouldn't have believed me, right? So likewise in core, everything is possible. Some people will make stories, some people will make machinima movies, some people will make more like MMO like games, RPGs, shooters, new forms of games, right? There might be a 14-year-old girl somewhere in the world who is a genius game designer, and she has a genius game idea, and she's going to make it in core, right? So lots of that is possible at a high level.
Okay, I think you just answered their follow-up question, which was, could Call of Duty, Pokemon, Rainbow Six Siege, and Mario games all have been created on Core?
I think games like those, and games of different genres that we've never even thought of, and maybe mashups of those different genres, could absolutely be created in Core. Core is not just for multiplayer. Single player games are supported too, and it's not just for third person over the shoulder shooters. You can do third person, you can do first person, you can do top down, you can do side scroll if you want to. All different types of game genres and game camera settings are possible.
I mean, we've already seen that in the closed alpha, and let alone now, right? I'm just looking at core right now, and I see like such a variety in terms of games. And again, like one of the key moments when we're starting to work on core and we're trying to define what we're doing, whether originally it was a game, and you probably have read out there or heard that, originally we're working on a game, we're working on a real-time multiplayer PvP game, and then we decided to add a bunch of things and share all our tools with the community, have a place for them to collaborate, a place for them to share their games, and then publish, make money, etc. And then we realized we're not making a game anymore. Well, along the way, one of the things that was really a groundbreaking moment for us mentally is that who are we to decide and define what is fun and what is going to be successful on the platform, right? The same thing, the question earlier about, is it going to be fair to the creators? It is up to you. It's based on your creativity. It's based on your inventiveness, how you work with others, and come up with completely new experience, leveraging what we put at your disposal, right?
All right, awesome. And then this next one is from Ephraim. Will Core ever have a system so that we can easily create main menus and menus for like multiple scenes or levels?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I'll take a stab at it. Just yes, the UI creation in Core is something we're going to keep evolving for sure. Right now, we do allow you to make menus and buttons and scroll widgets and stuff like that, but you can't really sort of theme them the way you want to, or the way at least I would want to. So we're still working on that. We have plans in the works. Again, I won't promise any dates, but it's something we are working actively on.
Cool. Okay, and then our next question, this is a great one. Spoiler alert, they're all great questions. Vivalis asks, how are you planning to attract more players when Core officially launches?
It's a very good question. So just to be clear, right, the open alpha is open to everybody. Core is free to play and free to create, but right now the focus is 99.9% on creators, and we will always have a very strong focus on creators, obviously, in all aspects of what we do, right? But yes, so we want to have lots of players, right? So it's going to be a mix of different things, right? Right now, we see all the kind of marketing, PR, outreach efforts we've done is toward the creators, right? You read even the blog post today, you read and let alone what we have on the platform, right? It's still the beginning. So the number of games, the variety, all that is for now, limited to what it is. And that's why we invited the creators early on the platform and the open alpha, so that we can all create great content, that when we open the doors more broadly to all the players, then there will be really great content, really great experience. So you're going to start seeing some player-centric efforts In the next months, we're going to time that obviously with the open beta, which will be later this year's. Actual dates TBD, quite frankly.
All right, and then Heyo asks, are there any more templates in the works? The first-person shooter was a great starting point for me personally.
Yeah, I can take that one. Oh, am I mute? No.
No,
Okay,
you're good.
so no. So yeah, we're working on that. We're actually all the frameworks that we have. We have multiple frameworks. Like right now is focused on I would say multiplayer games, but we are adding a lot more. We even are planning to add more visual frameworks as well. So it will like jumpstart folks on the visual aspect as well.
Cool. And
There
then,
is, sorry.
oh, sorry. No, you go, you go.
Sorry, I see. So BFM042, love your questions, whomever you are, and love the fact that you keep posting them and rewarding them. This is also the way I think. So I see your questions. I didn't have a chance to read them all, by the way, because the stream is going pretty fast. But you're asking like, are you worried about false advertisements? Are there plans to encourage more ambitious games, etc., etc., etc. Right. So again, as I said, like one, the platform is still very, very, very young and very new, right? So what you see today is not what you'll see in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months. Whether it's during the closed beta or even now, like we see like an evolution of one who comes, who makes what with whomever else, right? How people collaborate on joint forces. And there are also projects that we've seen that are not visible yet, right? So I think core is great for, yes, you're right, like making certain games very quickly, and we have, as part of our positioning, put the emphasis on that because quite frankly, when we talk to game development students, game design students, aspiring game designers, game creators, etc., and even more experienced one, there is really a huge appetite to do things much more efficiently, much faster than the way it is, right? As you probably know, the current game development pipeline is extremely rigid. It's regimented. It's codified. It requires like dozens of tools and dozens of people sometimes to have one playable. Well, here we are removing all that. And then as for more ambitious projects, really, it's up to the community, right? Whether you want to do something on your own, you probably already heard my anecdotes of there are people on our team, but even outside of Manticore, that were just, and I said just, as a play on word and tongue in cheek, just UI UX folks who made fantastic looking games on their own. We had people who were just backend engineers who also made fantastic looking games on their own. And then you see the start of the multiplier effect when people work together conjointly, whether it's 2, 3, 4, a dozen, who knows? But if you know teams that are interested in working in more complex projects in core, we are of course super interested in talking to them and seeing what they are capable of doing, right?
Yeah, and to that end, we've made tools that allow collaboration. We've made it easy in core to allow collaboration sort of outside. So especially now that everybody's been working from home, we support GitHub or any sort of Git or any sort of Perforce or SVN version control works really well with core. There's features inside the editor where you can actually split up your file into multiple folders so that people can work on different areas without collisions and stuff like that too. So we really do want to encourage larger games, larger teams to work on it. I think that, if core is a multiplier, a force multiplier of 10x or 100x of what one person can do, then if you put 3 or 4 people together, I think we're going to see some really, really amazing stuff.
And again, going back to the analogy of the UGC revolutions we've seen before with with pictures, with Instagram, with videos, streaming. There was originally this assumption that those media would be just for specialists, right? Like people who are good writers or good photographers, etc. And then guess what? 10 years later, 8 years later, the opposite has been proven true, which is you have people with very limited technical knowledge who've made amazing videos, amazing channels, amazing streams, amazing photos, right? With the help of the tools they had at their disposal, their passion, their creativity. And I think we'll see the same with core. Like, I don't think you need to know Lua. Probably it helps if you want to do some super custom stuff, but I think we'll also see creativity being pushed and unleashed sometimes thanks to the individual's boundaries, right? Like for instance, I don't know Lua, right? But I have some ideas of things I want to do in core that have nothing to do with coding. And I think we'll see new form of creativity with these people using just the WYSIWYG format, people who just copy paste other games and modify them, remix them. People who do maybe some meta stuff, such as curating the games, creating like a social portal, a world of a social hub, maybe with different portals to their favorite games of the week, right? So I think we see all that, and then if you really want to get into the guts of the engine and the games, then yeah, probably having some form of Lua knowledge is good. As Jordan said, we have this idea of opt-in complexity, right? So it's up to you. If you want to go deep and complex, you can, and let's see what happens.
Okay, and I just want to plug that we have 2 new tutorials up on YouTube as of today. So you should go check them out. We're going to be rolling out more documentation, written and videos to help kind of ramp up our creators and elevate them. Let's take another question from chat. Sniffler asks, are you planning to add the ability to publish to Steam?
So I already answered that partly in chat. So core is built, as Jordan mentioned earlier, in a way that allows like these very powerful features, right? So the client is essentially, of course, the same for players and creators, and whatever is on the server, and of course the engineering team is going to laugh at me, make fun of me. That's fine, but essentially on the server it's the same, right? The clients and the server are somewhat the same. So the games are these very small files. For the players, again, that's amazing, right? You can go from one game to another, one experience to another. You can experience what people call the multiverse in core that way. So the short answer is no. For now, we're not going to allow technically people to export to Steam. Also, I think there is an interest in just when we start having like an audience of players to stay on the platform, that you can engage there directly with them. And obviously it's going to be on us to show that we can create a fantastic ecosystem for you to find your audience and for you to monetize, right? And before we go into monetization, maybe Jordan or Arash want to add to that.
Okay, how about we move on to what everyone's been wondering about, essentially since we launched our closed alpha, and that is monetization. So the moment you all have been waiting for. We have gotten so many questions about this, and not just for this AMA. This is something we're asked constantly and consistently, and I think we're at a point where we're finally ready to share our plans for it. So, Arash, how will creators be able to monetize with Core?
Do you mind if I set the stage for you,
Oh,
Arash?
oh yeah,
Go for
please.
it.
Yeah. So a couple of things. So this is a super important question, and very candidly, we wanted to do an AMA, but for me, that was the main reason I wanted to do the AMA, because monetization is on the mind of lots of the top creators and even newly discovered creators, right? It's very important. We want Core to be not just a place where you can create, collaborate, experiment, create new forms of experiences, etc., invent a new series of worlds and interactions with your audience, etc., so on and so forth. You know that already. But it's also an economic platform. It's a place where we want creators to be rewarded for their creativity, for their efforts, for their love, the love they are putting in their games, in building their games, building their audience, interacting with their audience, right? So right now, of course, in the open alpha, there is no way for us to receive money, and there is no way for us to give money to creators. But this is one of the top topics of attention, for us, and we really want to create an economic platform for creators to make money, and in some cases make a living and be handsomely and awesomely rewarded for their success and their creativity.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just go a bit more detail to that as well, to what Frederic mentioned. First of all, we are a free to play and free to create platform. So that is, we're not going to monetize block or create a hard wall on creation or even playing. So that's one aspect. So overall, again, to emphasize what Frederic was mentioning, our aspiration and our vision is to make a platform, economically viable platform, so creators can actually earn a living, right? Potentially earn a living on our platform. So that is actually a goal for us. So overall, we're gonna have like 3 ways for creators to like monetize their games. One is which I actually, by the way, included into the blog. So anybody interested can go read it. It's I outlined it there as well. But one is player to creator monetization. So this is like players can pay a membership to the creators and they receive benefits. Some of them are actually cross game benefits, which is very exciting. The other part is a patronage feature. So players can actually support their favorite creators, right? And they can get some benefits from that as well. Third, and actually the most interesting one, is there's a global rev share program that we're going to introduce, and that we are going to, based on the popularity, based on the engagement of the game or games of the creators, we're going to provide a revenue share of from our revenue as well of the platform.
And I think that leads into a question we've gotten a lot as well. How does Core plan to make money?
It's a very good question. Yes, it's obviously it's important. We have employees, we have investors, and we want to be a very economically viable company, obviously, so that we stay all in business. Yes, it's actually very simple. So the way the economy works for us, the way we're thinking about it now, and by the way, as with lots of things, it evolves. We will evolve it over time. But the way we are thinking about it for now is, Core is free to play, free to create, right? So for the players, it's really very much like a mix between what you see in the top free-to-play games, as well as Twitch and YouTube. So what do I mean by that? As a player, you can it's free to play, and you can spend if you want on cosmetics. We'll have a wide variety of cosmetics available, just like what you see in Apex, Fortnite, etc. You also will have kind of service slash platform level subscriptions available to you, so such as VIP passes, season passes, battle passes, etc., and other programs we are thinking about. And of course, you'll have ways to donate directly to the creators, right, through various subscription systems and direct donation, direct patronage. So that is kind of the way the economy works. And then, of course, in turn, we share some of these proceeds with the creators. One thing to understand that is very different from some of the other platforms and systems out there based on UGC is that we do want to provide a very strong economic platform and potential to the creators. We also want to absolutely respect the players. That is very important. The player's experience is really super important. And if you're a creator and you want to be successful, you should really care about that. Whether it's your game, the efforts you put in your game over time, the changes you make, the way you interact with the community, the players are super important, and we need to respect them. And we really want to align the incentives on the platform so that the creators create the best games, and we allow that. The best games as defined by the players. The players, by their playtime, by their engagement, by their traffic, will determine what are the best games ultimately. And we've made some choices even in the way we allow creators to monetize. For instance, not to allow direct monetizations from the creators in the games. Look, in the long term, that is something maybe will change, but for now, we strongly believe that the best experience we can create for the players will come from that, so that the creators can focus on making the best game, engaging with their audience, making changes, updates, making new games, maybe building a portfolio of games or worlds, and not have to worry too much about monetizing directly in the games. My 7-year-old sometimes log into to some games, and he receives literally 20 or 30 messages from the creators of the games asking him for money, asking him why was he away for so long, why hasn't he done this in the game. This is not the best experience, not just for a 7-year-old, and we don't want that to happen. We want people to come and fully enjoy the experience without being bombarded with messages about monetization.
All right, excellent. And then here's some questions from chat. Heo asks, would Core be looking to have their own on-platform streaming service to help promote in-game playtime?
Sorry, I didn't hear that question. Can you repeat that?
Would Core be looking to have their own on-platform streaming service to help promote in-game playtime?
So it's an interesting question. So I don't want to overpromise anything, but like one thing that I can easily say that we will provide a lot of tools to make sure that creators manage their community and cater and make sure that what the community is heard, and they can surface their games to the players to their own community. So that I can actually easily say that is one major philosophy that we have for the product. The details of that we are still working and discussing, and to make sure that the right set of tools are created for the creators and for the players to actually enjoy the games and the platform.
Awesome. And then back to monetization questions.
Yep.
Punch Plump asks, will there be a core currency, or will payments, donations be directly from PayPal or some other such service?
We will have a currency.
Cool. And then I'm just going to run through a bunch of monetization questions we have. When should we expect monetization? Hope I didn't ask that one already.
So fairly soon, I would say. The thing is, this is a very, very, as Frederic mentioned, this is a very, very important aspect of our platform. So we are discussing it. We've been discussing it for a very long time. We've been evaluating what is the best balance for the creators and for the players, and how we can roll this out. We will have more information on the exact timeline of how and when we're going to roll this out.
The other thing I would add is that, as I mentioned earlier, the one of the goals of the open alpha is to invite creators early on the platform, so that you have a leg up. You can start building your content, you can start experimenting, you can start collaborating with our creators and thinking about your big projects. Someone mentioned, hey, big projects. Well, yeah, if you have a big project, it might take a few months, right? And we want to give you that leg up before we open to monetization, that you'll be, hey, maybe you're the first ones to be one of the top revenue generating creators on Core, right? So all that takes time, right? And going back to the question, because I think it's the same person who asked the question about false advertisement, etc. Like Core is not is everything. Lots of things are possible, right? It's not easy bake oven in some ways, right? I mean, we have lots of examples of super awesome stuff that were done super quickly, but also, like there are some things that we even ourselves created that took 3 to 4 weeks to make with a team of 5 or 6. What I would say, though, is going back to what Jordan was saying, that Jordan and lots of people on the team, they've all been making games for sometimes 20, 25 years. If you compare what is Core, what is possible in Core, what you are yourself capable of in Core to the traditional game development pipeline, and it is vastly faster, vastly easier, and vastly more powerful than whatever your pipeline is at any studio out there, right? So that's something to think about.
Will we be able to set our games to be paid?
So initially, no. So, and I'm emphasizing, and I will give you why that is. So again, so Frederic touched upon this like early on. For us, the growth of the platform is very, very important. Obviously, we want to bring a lot of players in. We want to have a lot of creators, a lot of games, and we want everybody to enjoy. And to some extent, not to some extent, we want this platform and Core to be the destination for players to play any type of games they want. So to do that, our platform is going to be free to create and free to play for now.
Excellent. And then here's one that's talked about a lot in the Discord and discussed a lot. Will we be able to make money from community content?
Go ahead. Go ahead, Jordan.
All right, sure, I'll take it. It's a great question. And I think there's a lot of corollary questions about how do creators protect their community content and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So long term, we do want creators to be able to make money off of things that are not just games, and that could be scripts that they write, frameworks that they write, models that they get bashed together. But there's going to be a lot of work ahead of that. So that's one of the reasons that it is called community content right now. It is not a marketplace. Anything you put on community content right now, you are sharing for, you can get the initial attribution where your name, but there's nothing to prevent somebody else from taking it and just changing one pixel or not even changing a pixel and reposting it. That is on purpose, and that's the reason. And it's all about sharing and sort of, like Arash said, growing the amount of stuff that everyone can make to get as much growth as possible. Later, there will be hopefully systems that allow you to protect that. It'll probably be a brand new system. It won't be called community content. It'll probably be called marketplace or something else that sort of suggests that it is more for monetization. And it will be, we'll make sure that we have safeguards in place to protect. It could be something even as curated. We don't know exactly how we're going to do it yet, but it could be something even as curated as the Dota 2 workshop, for instance, where we put out a call for content and people submit those and we curate them and then post them and stuff like that from inside the app. So that is all in the future to be determined, but we do eventually want to allow that.
Excellent. Okay, that also answers another question we had been asked. Are there measures planned to prevent people from simply republishing a community content asset as their own? That was from Wave Paradigm, and I think the answer is to be determined.
I think to be determined is fair for sure. Right now, and as we scale, I know that we can't rely on the honor system as we scale. But right now, the whole purpose of community content is to be sort of open source. You should consider anything that you put in community content to be open source, not just the code, but also the graphics and everything that you make, and anyone can grab that. That said, you don't have to publish the community content if you don't want to. We would like you to, but you don't have to right now. So. And then later, when we get things like the monetization, the marketplace, then you can do it.
Okay, and then this is bouncing back to Twitch chat. We have more questions about monetization and currency. What will the currency be used for? Just core avatars and cosmetics, or will that be used in game creator games as well? I think asking about in-app purchases.
So Frederic alluded to this. So we're not gonna have in-app purchases. So you can have like currencies for your within your own game. So you can create have internal economies that are not attached to monetization. But right now, the currency that we're going to introduce, we're actually even thinking of introducing two types of currencies. One is going to be purely for creator, let's say cosmetics and everything that the creators want to introduce, and then one for the core platform. So, but we're not going to overall have in-app purchases in our platform for now, because we want to make sure that creators are actually focused more on creating a fun, engaging game and get rewarded monetarily that way, rather than focusing on creating in-app purchases, small bundles here, small very small things here and there. So we want you and the creators to actually really focus on that engaging game and make sure that they can earn revenue from that.
Oh, and then Luck of Buck has a follow-up question to that, and he says, so we can still sell cosmetics within our game.
Yes. So we actually the creator to player to creator membership is the basis of that. That's the basis, right? So we will share a more detail exactly how the overall system for that will work. How is the authorship of the cosmetics and everything will work, but. We're actually thinking it in an extent that some of the cosmetics are actually going to be the creators will provide is going to be cross-game cosmetics. It's not even going to be only for your own games. The players can actually carry it. So it's going to be a lot more enticing for the players. And then you can actually, it actually is going to, players are going to convert and purchase that more than just being within your own games.
I wonder if Luck of Buck's question was also maybe not even lower level. Just reading his original question and the follow up. If he's not talking about having a basic system in your game as part of the gameplay where you have like a merchant, etc., but not tied to our economy. Yeah, you can do that.
Yep.
Not for real money, but obviously you do whatever you want in your game, right? Like if you want to have like coins that they collect, you see what I mean, right? So I just wanted to make sure that we answer his question properly.
Exactly. So we're not touching the the creativity and the flexibility and the freedom, whatever you want to do within your own game. It's your choice. Obviously, within the guidelines that the community guidelines that we have showcased. But other than that, it just won't be tied to the monetization. It's just within your own game.
Here's a really interesting question from King Relic. He asks, have you guys thought about money laundering through core and or how to prevent it?
Yes. Obviously, we are a two-sided marketplace, as Frederic again mentioned. So in short, I will just
Sounds like a question a money launderer would ask.
But in short, the answer is yes. That's an active thing, and we even the detailed monetization features and systems that we have in place will take that all into consideration.
Punch Plump asks, what's your gambling policy? I imagine it will be prohibited.
So real money gambling, that is prohibited. Yes.
All right, and then here's another question. This is bouncing back to our Discord questions. This is from Luck of Buck. What is the planned revenue split?
I can take that one. So we're not at this stage. We're not ready to share the exact split. This is a ongoing discussion internally. But I can easily say that for the player to creator membership monetization, the split and everything is by far, and I'm saying by far, in favor of the creators.
All right, and then another question. This one is from Afram. Will there be other ways to make money other than in-app purchases, such as ads or something else, so that not all games become completely pay to win?
Yeah, so the reason that we don't want to introduce in-app purchases is that, right? We don't want like a lot of pay to wins, a lot of games to come in and then um, um, focus too much on benefits that will make people actually pay to win, right? So for lack of better words, but other ways, there are two other ways. As I mentioned before, there's going to be a patronage system, right? So players can easily support their creators and get some benefit from that. And then the second part is we are going to introduce a global rev share as well. That is, we provide a cut from our sales from the platform sales, Manticore sales.
Cool. And then a user, Bisque Codes, has a huge thank you for us. I won't read the whole comment, but it's very heartwarming. And they end with, I have been really hoping for a platform like this to pop up for quite some time now, and I can't express in words how thankful I am, which is so heartwarming to read. You guys aren't reading Twitch chat. That just made my day. Mega Maple asks, will Manticore be selling its own cosmetics?
Yes, that's the basis of the core monetization. Yes, we will sell. We have different type of merchandising that we're going to do: the battle passes, normal subscriptions, VIP passes, so on and so forth. Yes,
and those cosmetics will include obviously different characters you can get. And our character system, if you haven't seen it in core, is mix and match. So every character that you get or that you buy will sort of increase the combinatorics of what you can make with your avatar. And then also mounts, emotes, and we're not ready quite yet to talk about what we're going to do with pets, but there will be pets, but it won't be through Manticore potentially. Surprise.
And then, we have another question from Luck of Buck. How do I launder money? We'll move on. Punch Plump asks, what social role-playing features are planned, voice chat, animations like hugging, and so on?
Yeah, it's a great question. We plan to have a basic set of emotes, I think, for free available for everybody at the start. Things that are simple like yes, no, hi, thumbs up, thumbs down, things like that. And then more complex emotes that are things like, dances or big flexes and stuff like that will be purchasable.
Excellent. And I think
We also, I should also
no
mention,
problem.
we also have chat built in. So you get chat for your games built in right out of the box, and you can very easily set that to be a chat across your whole game or just per team and stuff like that. So you don't have to worry about that. You get chat all built in. For voice chat right now, we don't have voice chat built in yet, but it's something we're definitely gonna look at.
Yep.
Awesome. And I think we've run through all of the monetization questions I have. Of course, if you guys still have something, you're wondering about something we haven't covered, please ask in chat. And I'm just going to be running through everyone else's questions now. So Sniffler asks, what is the scale of the world you can make in Core? Will procedural generation be made possible?
Yep, that's a great question. It's really sort of anything that you want. Our terrain system, I have successfully done terrains that are 10 kilometers by 10 kilometers using our terrain system. You just set the voxel scale up and you can easily achieve that. So you can make as a big a world as you want in Core. And what was the second half of the question? Sorry, I was reading it.
Oh, will procedural generation be made possible?
Yes, procedural generation, it will be made possible. We are definitely going to add a procedural foliage system so that you don't have to place every blade of grass in every tree. You've got to, and we've seen procedural, like I said, Waffle has made his own procedural terrain system already. So yeah, it's definitely possible.
And then Sniffler asked a question a while ago that I ended up skipping over, but I wanted to address it now. Is it possible to create a game with no coding?
Yes, it absolutely is. So using the core frameworks, when you go hit create game, if you select that middle thing that says core game framework, you will get a complete game of whatever style you want. Capture the hill, team deathmatch, battle royale even. With zero coding, that is a complete game that you can put all the art in that you want. And then you can even change the settings for that with no coding if you want it to be fewer players, more players, different team spawn, respawn rules, all that stuff with no coding at all. You can even go using community content, you can go a step further than that. There's enough community content there now that you can find weapons, you can find different types of machinery, game, grenade launchers, a portal gun, things like that, that you can just drag and drop into your game and they'll just work. They're coded by people in the community and put in community content.
All right. And before we move on, I just want to add, Jordan, did you make Sniper Alley without touching any code? Am I remembering that right?
That is correct. Sniper Alley was made without me writing a single line of code. And I used stuff from, community content at that time was just stuff that people internally were making because we were not in even closed alpha yet. But for instance, the helicopter was made by one of our backend engineers, Mark, and the buildings were made by, some of our designers and environment artists and that using the pieces. So I just really sort of put together, we stood that thing up and we had Sniper Alley up and running and playable within just a few hours, and then we got it polished in maybe 2 people in a week.
Awesome. And then Punch Plump asks, will assets like new hats and 3D shapes be periodically added?
Yes. So yeah. So yes. Content, we're continuously going to add content, 2 types of content. One, we're obviously going to add like cosmetics, where we have a great pipeline. Take the opportunity to do a shout out to our art team. And then the second part is the environmental art pieces, right? So we're adding different type of themes. The next one I can talk about easily is the fantasy theme, and then we're going to have like additional ones like sci-fi, even military, and all of these have different dimensions from that will actually enable all the creators to actually make any type of game that they want. Yes, this is continuous, I would say, and I'm going to use it as a treadmill. It is going to be a treadmill for us that we are going to always add content to this. Yes.
And then we have a few questions about cosmetics from King Relic. Will cosmetics only be with character skins, or could that include weapon skins?
So cosmetics for the way to think about it is this. So the characters and then mounts and let's say emotes, dance emotes. These are the stuff that Manticore authors, and we're going to sell it, as we mentioned, that we're going to provide that through like battle passes and so on and so forth. And then there are other cosmetics that the creators will be able to author. And those are going to be similar, like for example, Jordan already alluded to this, is like pets and maybe like different type of emotes as well that their creators will be able to create, and they will actually sell it as well to as a membership
And
to the.
just real quick on the topic of weapon skins, what's really interesting about Core, and it might not be obvious just watching the games on stream, but every single weapon that you've seen in all the games we've played are actually basically user generated, right? They are built by users out of parts that we have, and you can drop your own materials on there. So if you want to make a golden gun, you absolutely just can in Core by dropping a gold material.
And then there's a follow-up question from King Relic as well. Do you guys approve skins before they can be purchased, or is it instantly available?
There's going to be an approval process for that, and the details of that we can share later.
Okay, perfect. And then Wave Paradigm, hey Adam, says, I've seen discussion on server tick rate elsewhere. Would higher tick rates ever be considered for certain games, perhaps only ones with 2 players?
Yeah, it's a good question, and it's definitely something we're going to look at. Right now, we're sort of sitting with what we've got on the 10 hertz, because there's enough stuff you can do on the client side to sort of make it work. That said, I know the types of games you're trying to make, and it's something we're definitely going to investigate in the future.
Punch Plump asks, how can creators make pets?
So we will like the details. We will share the details actually in near future. So at this stage, but you will be able to. Where there will be some guidelines about it, obviously. So, but you will be able to create pets on the through the editor through submission, and then it will actually be available inside the store as well.
All right, and then here's another one from Sniffler. When you say the game servers can expand depending on how big the game gets, does that mean there is no limit to the amount of players you can have?
Who wants to take it?
Frederic, do you want to take that one?
I'll take it.
Okay.
So that is not, no, yeah. So currently we do have, in open alpha, we do have a limit of 16 players. However, we do want to look at increasing that for future games, and see how high we can obviously get it. But for the open alpha period, we do have a limit of 16 players. That said, we also have our system specs, we hope, are also going to get lower as we get closer to full launch, and as we start supporting things like console and mobile later. So that's something we're definitely always improving.
Sorry, I couldn't respond. Actually, I have to admit, I was playing a few core games. I was in Unstitched Witch Chapter 1, and I tried this match on Easter eggs, and then I was in Parkour, and then I couldn't alt tab fast enough. Those are really cool new games.
Oh,
Great.
and then Arash, we actually have a few questions from Discord that have questions about your blog post. So Wave Paradigm asks, in the blog post, Arash mentions achieving a partner status will enable the creators to monetize on Core. I was wondering if there were any details at this time regarding what would constitute different levels of partnership.
So the core of that is, no pun intended, actually, is what Frederic mentioned, that we want to align incentives, right? So so to do that, we're creating a partnership program, and what constitutes the different tiers is the popularity of your game and the level of engagement of your games, right? Creators' games. So different tiers will be dependent on the different levels of engagement that they're going to have.
All right, and then Luck of Buck asks, where is the global revenue share money coming from? Is that taken from everyone's games and being pooled together?
No, that one, the global rev share program that we mentioned, is coming from actually the cosmetic sales from Manticore. So from our side, there's a cut from that part, not from the overall rev share, not overall creator revenue.
Okay, and then I think that's
I
all
think
of
it's
our.
time to wrap up. Yeah, I think it's time to wrap
Okay.
up because I need
Oh,
to
we
go
are
soon.
over time. Yes.
I have to feed my kids and then get on another call. It was really, really awesome. Loved the questions. It's super awesome to see such an engaged community. And again, my call to you is let your creativity guide you, and do whatever you want in core, pretty much, right? And really looking forward to seeing what are the next games. And sorry, I was distracted. I was actually in core playing some of the new games I hadn't seen this morning, and they are really promising and awesome. So thank you very much for your time.
Oh yeah, and thank you, Frederic, Arash, Jordan, for jumping in and answering all of these questions. Thank you, everyone, for asking them. It's so wonderful to be able to see what's kind of forefront on your minds. And I hope we were able to answer all of the questions to the best of our ability. I think we were. If you do have more questions, you can ask them in the Discord server, and then we can answer them there for you. And then I do just want to plug that we do have a stream coming up today at 4 p.m. Me and Curtis will be launching off our throwback gun jam. So if you're interested in creating weapons in core, we're going to be covering what that kind of entails. And we also have, as I mentioned, 2 new YouTube tutorials up, and then Jordan's stream on Monday at 2 p.m. for sneak peek new features in core. I think that's a wrap. I think that's everything from me. If you guys have closing comments.
Yeah, one last thing. Of course, if you want to get notified of when we go on live on Core Live, I don't know if you mentioned that, Tasha, but hit the little heart to follow our Twitch channel, and then see the links below for all the social channels that you can follow us on. We just launched our first big patch post open alpha, so there's a lot of new stuff in there. And then on my stream on Monday, I'll definitely be showing new stuff that's coming around the corner. So definitely check that out. There's a lot of really cool stuff.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you later today. Bye.